The EU late last week striking a deal on what's called the Digital Markets Act, and it could have some huge implications for America's tech giants. The so-called gatekeepers like Apple, Amazon, Meta, and Google could see their market power curbed through rules against giving their own services preference over other companies. Joining us right now to weigh in on the legislation and what it could mean for established tech companies and for startups is tech investor Bradley Tusk. He's the CEO of Tusk Ventures. And Bradley, how do you feel about these rules?
Look, personally, I think they're a good thing. I understand why Apple and Amazon and everyone else doesn't want them. But as an early stage tech investor, it is virtually impossible right now for me to invest in a company that's going to compete with Microsoft or Google or Apple or Amazon or anyone else because they have so much power in the marketplace that they can just crush them immediately. So I think from the perspective of wanting more innovation and wanting more competition, this should help. And I just don't think monopolies are ever particularly good for it.
I mean, obviously, you've got some skin in the game on this, too. You're looking for startup companies. You think that startup companies are hurt pretty badly by this. Competition is hindered.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think right now, at least in the U.S., there are virtually no rules limiting the ability of the platforms to favor themselves at the expense of everyone else. What the Digital Markets Act attempts to do is to say, look, just because you're on one platform doesn't now mean that you've given up your rights to privacy. It doesn't mean they can monetize your data however they want. And most importantly, the act allows for data portability and interoperability, which means you can go from one platform to another and still have everything preserved and have all of your data and not have to recreate everything every single time. This is especially important as we start heading into the metaverse, where we're going to spend so much more time as our avatars. And the more that we're able to go from metaverse to metaverse without having to redo everything every time, the better it is for consumers.
There have been rules that have been similarly floated in the United States. You think they pick up traction if this is something that they're looking across the pond and thinking yes?
I think one thing Americans all have in common is we don't really care what the EU does about much of anything. I don't, but I do think that you've seen some movement in Congress. There was legislation that passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee a couple months ago that was bipartisan. It does seem like one issue that unites both parties and the left and the right is sort of at least a general, a hatred for Facebook at the very least, if not the other platforms too. And so politically, it is feasible. I think the biggest one would be something called the repeal of Section 230. That currently makes it so that platforms like Facebook or Twitter are not liable for the content that's posted on the platform. The EU is looking to repeal that through something called the Digital Services Act. If the U.S. did it and Biden could potentially do some of it through executive action, that would really change things.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.